Mitra, many of us have heard about this concept of a higher self. How do you understand the higher self?
So the way I understand my higher self is an aspect of me that is aware of all of my experiences that I may have as the energy. What does that mean? So first of all, I don't believe in past and future. When people talk about past lives, I don't know what that means because time and place exist in this dimension, the third dimension, physical dimension that we're experiencing, but it doesn't exist in other dimensions. So there's an aspect of energy that of me that is or has been experiencing many lives. And that part of me, that energetic aspect of me, is very aware because it's quite experienced. Just imagine that I'm a man and a woman and a dark and light and live here and live there and I'm a teacher and I'm I don't know, a plumber, and I have that collective knowing and wisdom and experience. So that is my higher self, and connect to it when I want to. But this aspect, what I call Mitra, is just a very, very small portion, part of that whole called higher self of me.
Hmm.
So, having said that, I want to know what that means to you.
Yeah. So my understanding of higher self is very similar. So the way I see it is, yes, we have this dimension. We're in the
Mhm,
third dimension. The
mhm,
third dimension is a very limited, it's like a simulated reality. I see this reality as a virtual reality. Okay. And there are other dimensions, and in these other dimensions, there's no time, and there's many different lives, many different experiences that I'm living. It's at this, I'm explaining the same thing you are, but in my own words. And then in the higher dimension, there's my true self, the highest aspect of myself, who has experienced all of the different lives, who has gone through all of the different challenges, all the different paths,
mhm,
and is all knowing specific to me and my life experience. And that it has immense wisdom, and it is a wisdom that I can call upon. It's actually me, it's a part of me. I feel separate from it because of the mind. The mind has made me feel separate from it. And that's how I understand it.
mhm.
Yeah.
So, you're right. It's very similar.
Yeah.
And now the question is then, who is this person we call Ben or Mitra? And that's a fascinating way of looking at it. I call it a character. In fact, many characters, because even Mitra, who I call Mitra, has many many aspects to her. There is the Mitra the teacher, the kind Mitra, Mitra the lawyer, Mitra the this, Mitra the that, Mitra the sister. So there are so many Mitras that live within me, and for me, it's very helpful when I call them characters because I'm aware that they have a role. I'm aware that they have an agenda, you know, and I'm aware that they're just a character. They're not who I am. Who
Mhm.
I am actually is that higher self that, as you said, I like it, that she has wisdom. She has collective wisdom of all Mitras or whatever they called that I am living or have lived. So that
Which is
makes it
pretty
much easier.
cool when we think
Yeah.
about that, right? It's like there's a
Yes.
version of me that has experienced it all, has tried
Yes.
every possible path, and knows the most direct path with me. And then it just comes down to, okay, you getting access to it. Our higher self is not going to interfere with our life. It's not going to tell us what to do. It's available to us. When we become aware of it,
Mhm.
then we can connect with our higher self. And when we connect with our higher self, it all comes down to the questions we ask. You know, I've heard the quote, the quality of our life is determined by the questions we ask ourselves. If we can ask the right questions, we can get a lot of wisdom from that higher version of ourselves. So I'm curious to know, because some people just choose to skip the higher self and go directly to God and connect with the ultimate creator, source energy. What is your relationship with your higher self? Do you connect with your higher self? And how do you connect with your higher self?
Good question. I actually feel, I don't think, I feel that's the problem. I just
You caught
identified the
yourself.
problem. Yeah, I feel,
It's a epiphany moment.
I think I answered your question. I feel that the connection to higher self is pretty easy when we become aware of it. I
Yeah.
can connect to that aspect of me that has a higher connection to the all aspects of me. So that is because it's all about me. And I like the fact that you desire and are you quite ambitious and you're even ambitious spiritually, that you go straight to the source.
Hmm.
It might be difficult for many of us.
Yeah.
It's easier for me, especially if I'm down in a character.
Yeah.
And I often find myself in one of those characters. It's like
Yeah.
Mitra who wants to do this and wants to win and wants like change the world, and Mitra the activist. When I find myself in a character, I connect to me, the higher self. That's what inner wisdom is. That's where ask yourself and And then from there, there's actually another story that I need to go to, another floor, before I get to the prime creator. So there's the higher self, which is collective me. And then there is collective consciousness, which is the consciousness of all who've ever lived and whoever will live. There's Einstein there, there's Mother Teresa there, they're all there. And then higher self has connection to that, easier connection to that. And
Ooh,
then
this is some advanced level stuff. All
yeah.
right.
And then above that is the prime, source, whatever name you want to call it, Christ consciousness, prime creator, the source. So these three floors, interesting number, by the way, these three floors are the floors that we can go to. Some people are able to go straight to the source. Some people can connect to a consciousness that is not theirs, and that's fine too. I can sit there and think, I wonder, if I'm a musician, how did Bach, you know, function or do these things? And then I connect to that collective consciousness. For me, the easiest is the higher self, and then the rest is just so smooth, is buttery after that. When I'm connected to my higher consciousness,
Yeah.
higher self, then I can go to other floors easily.
Do you typically go into a meditative state to connect with your higher self, or in your day to day you'll interact with your higher self, or
Um,
both?
yeah, yes, to both of them. Meditative or contemplative state is not always available, but going in is always available. I can be in the busiest event or the busiest traffic. I can take a conscious breath and say, okay, hello, higher self, are you around here? Can we chat a little bit? Just like, I send a text to you or you call me. It's the same thing. It's the desire. So the currency, the tool for connection in the invisible world is your desire. So when I desire it, when I become aware of it, and desire it, then it happens. It's not that difficult. Higher self is standing at the door saying, can I come in? I
Yeah.
need your permission. May I come in?
Yeah. I would actually be careful with the word choice of desire. Desire inherently has built in it the lack. I lack something and I desire it, versus choice. I choose
Well, in this
something.
case, I am lacking connection, actually. So it's
Okay.
very appropriate in
I
that
suppose.
moment. In that moment, but passion. You're right. Passion is a
There's a
much
different
better.
there's a nuance there, because sometimes our very desire for something is the thing that perpetuates the lack of it. It's like the carrot and the stick thing. It's like the horse chasing the carrot on a stick, right? Our very desire of that thing is keeping it away from us.
Yeah, just wanting it, I suppose, or
Yeah,
having passion for connection.
wanting it. Yeah,
Whatever word works for you, but for me it's just that yearning, that
yeah,
I really want to have that. And then it just instantly happens. And of course, the more connection we have, the faster connection we have, and more often connection we have, just like everything else. It's easier when we have a relationship, when we establish a relationship, then it's much easier. Like I probably answer your text much faster than I would answer a text that, I don't have any relationship with that person. I let that sit for, when I have the time or energy. But if I see your text, I think, oh, I better let Ben know about this. So it's that if you have a relationship with your higher self, and many of us don't,
Yeah.
that makes it much easier to connect with it. And that's what people call it when we say, usually when something goes wrong, we say what? We say, deep down, I knew. That deep down is also available to you when things are going well.
Yeah.
We don't need for things to go
Yeah,
wrong for me
exactly.
to go
Exactly.
deep down.
Exactly. Oftentimes we wait for things to be difficult before we go there. Yeah, I feel you. And one thing that's interesting, I've connected with higher self, not as much um, in the past 12 months, because as you know, I've chosen to just go connect directly with the creator. But this conversation might inspire me to connect more with my higher self as well. Let's talk about when the guidance that we're receiving, when it's actually true guidance from our higher self and when it is not. Because sometimes we might receive information and we think it's coming from our higher self.
Mhm.
And really, it's coming from the subconscious aspect of our ego. I think that's relevant here because it can get confusing at times. And you're you're quite advanced on your spiritual evolution, so you have this natural ability to be in a neutral state and in a state of curiosity, which I think is very key.
Yeah.
To be in a neutral state, to be in a if something's not working out in
Mhm.
life. Energetically, there's a big difference between, okay, it's not working out. I'm uncomfortable. I don't
Mhm.
like this. It's not the end of the world. It's okay that it's there. I'm curious to get some guidance here.
Mhm.
What is the guidance that you have versus being in a difficult situation and deep down like wanting having a strong aversion to that. Like I need this to go. I need to have an answer. And that's a very different experience, right? And oftentimes I have found
Mhm.
that that energy actually makes it difficult to impossible sometimes to connect
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
our higher self. So I think it's really important to understand this energetic difference. What's your experience with that?
You beautifully answered your own question of me. That was just beautiful. I was listening to it. It's exactly how you described it. So when subconscious has an agenda, it wants a certain thing. It's not necessarily the open-ended curiosity. Curiosity is open-ended. So I ask a question and I'm fine. Of course, I have preferences, but I'm fine with whatever the answer is. And when you feel you have attachment to the answer and it's not smooth and it's not creamy, even though it's something that you do want or don't want, then you know it's not coming from a higher self or even higher than higher self place. And it's exactly that. I have made decisions that have been extremely challenging at the conscious level, at or definitely not wanted at the subconscious level. But the moment I connected to that higher aspect of myself, then it was like, yep, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that's why this is beautiful notes here. That's why acceptance, not agreement, acceptance is very important key in living a conscious life. Let me
Yeah.
explain what that means. Acceptance is it is what it is. It's a fact that I accept. And from that place, then that means that I'm not attached to the outcome. I am okay. Or at the practical level, I usually what I do is I say, what is the worst case scenario that might happen with this? And I imagine that and I accept that. I'm doing all of these in order to get away from my subconscious opinions and suggestions so I can arrive at a place I say, pure curiosity, or I'm at least partially curious.
Yeah.
And I want to know what you know, because your knowing is above and beyond my character wanting certain thing and being attached to a certain outcome. And
Yeah.
that's when I know, as difficult as the answer might be for me, I have an inner comfort. And comfort is enough. I'm not even going to say peace, because peace, it's a little bit further away. I
Yeah.
have inner comfort. I know it's not what I wanted. I know it's not what I really, really desired, as you said, but it is something that I am comfortable with. And then I know that that has come from a different source. Again, it's a practice. The more I practice about things that don't matter, like I decide on what to order, I'm in a restaurant, I allow that to be my guide. And then I can make a decision about major thing of like, do I want to move to this place? Do I want to be in relationship with this person? So it's easier to access that when it really, really matters.
Yeah. When we're feeling that kind of craving feeling, like I really want to change this, what that
Yeah.
means is the opposite of that is true, which is what we're fearing something and we're have a strong aversion towards something. You know, the power of just noticing that within ourselves.
Mm.
For a moment, letting go of the thing that our mind is telling us we desire,
Mm-hmm.
this desired outcome, or getting out of this difficult situation, get me out, get me out. And we're noticing that there's a strong emotional charge.
Yeah.
Just noticing that emotional charge and accepting that, okay, I'm noticing I'm craving, there's an emotional charge, I'm feeling a strong aversion towards something,
Mm-hmm.
that already gives us distance from the mind, just
Yeah.
accepting that fact. And we can actually access the higher self from that point. So we temporarily drop the desired outcome that we had,
Mm-hmm.
right? And instead we notice that, okay, I'm feeling a lot of fear, I'm feeling a strong emotional charge. Higher self, can you help me with this?
Mm-hmm.
This emotional charge that I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to know? What am I missing? You know? So we gotta detect that though. It's really important that we detect that when there's a strong emotional charge and there's a strong desire, we
Mm-hmm.
gotta catch that. And that's the thing that we have to address first before the thing that we're wanting to choose. I'm gonna use the word choose for ourselves or want for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And that requires presence. So it's very interesting. As we're speaking without wanting, we're talking about aspects of mindfulness. So we talked about presence, we talk about acceptance, we talk about awareness. So these are all ingredients for this beautiful soup that we can make that allows us to share our food with our higher self.
Here's the thing. We know also, let's talk about the hallmarks of what is actual wisdom that's coming down to us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hallmarks, simplicity. Simplicity. The answer is always super simple. Anytime it's like this kind of long winded or multi layered response, that's my mind. That's my mind. Okay. Like if it's not
I like that.
simple, it is not higher self. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And then the other thing is, and we've already kind of alluded to this, is that there's no emotional charge. If we're contemplating, we're asking about higher self about how to deal with a relationship where someone has kind of done something bad to us. If there's that feeling of revenge, that energy of I'm going to get back to them, then it is not higher self's wisdom. Okay. So there's no emotional charge. Actually, the only emotion, it's either for me, it's either just this sense of neutrality or love. Sense of
Neutrality or love.
neutrality
Yeah.
or a love that doesn't have a charge. It's not a
Mm.
charged love. It's just the presence, the energy of love. If it doesn't have those characteristics, then it's not my higher self's wisdom. Do you agree?
I do agree. And I think we also have a knowing how that feels. We know I mean, for me, I think the word was comfort. I know as much as it's opposite of probably what I was wanting, there is a comfort. There is yeah, that makes sense. And I
It's
liked your
different
word.
vocabulary, but the same thing.
Same
Comfort
thing.
is neutrality. I don't feel
Exactly.
charged.
Exactly.
I'm
Yes.
just
Yes, there's
at
no
ease with it.
rejection, there's no attachment, there is
Yeah.
no aversion. It's not, oh my God. It's just like, you arrive and you're in the right place. And I like your word of neutrality or balance, because in truth there is balance. Anytime and you can tell it in everyday interactions. If you ask me something and I'm charged by it or activated by it, I will either retreat and don't answer, or I over explain. and you can tell that there's no balance. It's like, no, I did it. By the way, you should have, and you know why, and you know there is something that is not working well. Otherwise, I say, yeah, no, I didn't do it, and that suffices for me. So it's a beautiful, and everybody has that knowing. I don't even need when I work with people and those who desire to be there. Sorry, desire. What was the right word?
Choose.
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 Those who choose to be there, they arrive there. They arrive there, and they can feel it. They don't need my vocabulary to explain it to them. It's like love. These are states of being. When we're there, we know. It is only difficult to explain it to someone who hasn't consciously experienced it. I mean, try to explain and define love to someone. I say, well, what does that mean? You say, oh, you'd feel like this, you feel like. I say, well, they're better people than them, aren't they? So, because they're talking about my, it's just like, no, it's not about better. It's just it's very hard. Have you ever tried to explain love? You
You
can't
can't.
explain it.
Words are not
A
enough, and
failure. Yeah.
you have to
Yes.
experience it to
Yes.
know it.
Because you're trying to explain a state of being with a state of doing. Doing is limited, being is unlimited. So you can't put that energy into a box and have words for it, but they will know. And that's the beauty of it. It's just like, it's that moment of knowing. It's just that. I do a guided meditation, usually in my sessions. And I invite them to just connect to their higher self. And then I say, what do you think? And they probably in the beginning think like, I've come to you to tell me, and you're just telling me to, what do I believe? And then when they connect to it, I say, you see, as they say in the business, they say the job of a good counselor is to take your watch and tell you what time it is. It's like, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
Like, it. I don't. I don't
Yeah.
know your higher self. Your
Yeah.
higher self has experiences that I can't fathom, probably.
And this is so key. You're
Mm.
making a very important point, because if we don't see it as a possibility for us, it won't be a possibility for us.
Yes.
If we
Yes.
don't see that possibility, that we have access to an all-knowing wisdom
Mhm.
right within us, but we just don't believe it. We're holding on to the belief that no, it always has to come from outside of us. Then you're not going to access it.
Yes. And no one else can either, because your higher self is your higher self at best. That's why I have major issue when people start almost worshiping their teachers, their gurus, whatever they call them. I have always escaped from that, both as a giver and receiver, because we're looking for people to replace them with our own work that, they know, don't they? And people like ask me questions that are like, oh, can you read mine? Do you know future? And I'm thinking, I just like, because we're looking for those ultimate beings that are out of us. And I escape. I literally have left groups that I have created only because of that, because they started looking at me like that. And I have left a group that they were worshiping the teacher, even though the teacher was amazingly helpful in my journey. I had to love them and leave them because it was like they're worshiping. I mean, this is just this is centuries ago where we escaped from worshiping things and human beings, and that's what happens. Nobody has access at best. At best, when I'm really happy with my work, either as a teacher or whatever else, the guide, is that I'm a good way shower. I say that way. It's that way. It's
That's all
north.
you can be.
That's
Yeah.
all I can be. At best, that's when I'm at my highest level. I can show them the way and they say, oh, thank you. And they go there. But I cannot go there for them. I cannot access their higher self and I cannot do it for them. And that's good for people who are on the journey to know, because on the way, the teacher becomes the destination and the teaching gets lost.
Yep. Absolutely. So let's talk about practical, putting this real life examples. Okay. I'll share one from me. One common inquiry I like to ask is, how am I standing in my own way? Show me. What am I blind to? What am I not aware of that by becoming aware of, I'll have more clarity? Especially when I'm going through a difficult situation and I'm just not sure what's happening. I love that inquiry. And invariably, the answer eventually comes. It's like, oh, I get it. Okay, I get this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm standing in my own way. Sometimes right in, like if I'm in front of my altar and I ask the question, sometimes right then, sometimes it takes a few days. It's like I'm walking my dog, we're on a hike together, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I get the clarity. I'm like, okay, thank you. That's one way
Very
I
good way.
I connect, and that's one form of inquiry for me. What about you? What are the types of questions that you ask?
Hmm. I'm going to give one too to make it very simple. The one that really works for me, and I usually also offer it to those who are open to it, is to imagine a long table, like Louis XVI kind of dinner table. And there are many characters sitting around the table. And those are all different aspects of me. My question always is, and they're fine, they can be there, they all serve a purpose in my life, and I'm grateful to all of them. But the one question is, who is sitting at the head of the table? If the aware me, the accepting me, all those things that we said, the mindful me is at the head of the table, I'm fine. But if a character is sitting at the head of the table, so my question is, who's at the head of the table right now? And the more attachment and the more my grip is strong, the more of a character I know is sitting
Yep,
at the head of the table.
yep,
And she won't let it go. She wants it, and she wants it now, and she wants it badly.
yep.
And my question is, may I take a seat, please? You can sit at the table, but the head belongs to the aware me. And
Mm.
then it becomes very easy.
Interesting. It's similar, energetically similar to my inquiry, which is how am I standing in my own way? And
Yeah.
you have a more refined way where you understand that one of your own characters it has the mic, and that's standing in your way. So you
Yeah.
need to take the mic back
Yes. Yes.
and then go into your inquiry. Yeah.
Yeah, I have visuals for things because of my dyslexia. I always need, you know, visuals, and I see it. I see the table. I see, the Mitra who wants to win, the Mitra who wants to show off, the Mitra who wants to blah blah, whatever it is. And sometimes it's not even that. It's the Mitra who's an activist and wants to like bring justice. It doesn't need to be just like a selfish thing. Wants to bring justice, and I say thank you. But right now, I need that chair. And as you called it, the microphone, I need the mic. Please,
Yeah.
vacate the seat. And then immediately she does, because
Yeah.
she also is suffering. That's the thing. When we are gripping, we are suffering.
Yep.
So it becomes very easy. She gets up and they were or accepting or curious or compassionate or present, Mitra, any of those will do, sits at the table. And then she says, thank you, dear characters. You've done a great job today. Now we are going to invite the higher self to join us at the table. And then she will bring something that everyone says, we never thought about that.
Yep. Yeah, they got to relax. All right, Mitra.
Good conversation.
Great conversation. We wish you all well on your journey to connecting with your higher selves. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave
Yes.
comments for us. We look at all
Yeah,
of them.
we do. And please tell us, what is your relationship with your higher self? How do you connect with your higher self when and if needed?
Thank you so much for tuning in today. For a list of the links and other resources referenced in this episode, check out the podcast description.
If you're benefiting from our podcast, we'd love if you could help us reach more people by subscribing. Your support means the world to us. From our hearts to yours, we thank you.